First of all, I would like to thank you that you give us such an interview. And as you said to me, that maybe it's not true, but you can say about it. The first question, for 12 years you were a sales and manager director in Commodore UK. It's a long period of time. What was the best thing of being part of the Commodore at that period of time?
Okay, well, just correct it. I wasn't at Commodore UK for 12 years. I was with Commodore International for 12 years, but I moved around in different jobs. My first 4 or 5 years was with Commodore UK. I actually joined them in the business systems division to sell what we then had was pets, and I was recruited to sell pets into the retail market because my background has always been mostly into selling to the retail stores all around the world. I was only doing that for just over 2 months when the demand for the Commodore VIC-20 and the Commodore 64 got so big they needed somebody to look after their major stores, so they asked me to take that role on because my background was selling to retail.
Sure. And what is your biggest achievement in Commodore? The achievement that you are proud the most?
Well, there's actually a few, but I think the biggest achievement is that I managed to pull together different packs of computer products, which included lots of software, which we gave themes to, and then we sold those packs into all the retail stores, from the big major stores down to independent stores. And the idea was to attract an audience of people who wanted to buy computers for the first time and give them something very attractive that they could buy, take home and immediately use. And we did a lot of 64 packs, which every one of those was different. And we always tried to stay current with the latest trend of software, so that was an attraction to the consumer. And then when we launched the Amiga 500, that was probably the most successful thing that we did, because I pulled together a package which we committed to 10,000 pieces of software, but it was so successful what we put together, we ended up selling in that 3 months to Christmas, 186,000 packs. It was a massive seller. And that put the Amiga on the map in the UK, big time.
It's a great achievement, indeed. But on the other hand, what picks you up in Commodore at that time?
Most other things, because Commodore as a company, in my humble opinion, never ever established a business plan and worked to it. They kind of had people coming in and they all had different ideas, and so you'd get halfway through a project which suddenly they would abandon and bring in another project because somebody else had an idea that might be better. But they never planned anything, and so we tended to stumble from one bad decision to the next. So there was lots of instances of that, but in general, they never planned. They never worked out a business plan. We're releasing a model. How do we release it? Who do we sell it to? How do we market it? How do we advertise it? They never did that. They just suddenly said, here's a new product, go and sell it. They never asked the question, does anybody want it? So that was the disappointment with Commodore.
In one of the interviews, you said that you miss Commodore immensely. What you are missing most?
The whole thing, to be honest with you, because even though Commodore made as an international company, they made wrong, irrational decisions. But having said that, it was so exciting because the products that they were developing, when we got it right, were selling in huge numbers. It changed history. And being part of that was incredible. And so when eventually Commodore went bankrupt, there was a massive hole left. And to be honest with you, nobody, not one company has followed up with that. And so that's kind of what I miss, is the cut and thrust of being involved in a business every day where you directed what happened and made the best of it, so that you gave a good proposition to the consumer, you gave a good proposition to the dealer who was selling it, and a good proposition to Commodore the manufacturer, so that everybody wins. My lesson in life has always been, it has to be win, win, win. And if you could keep doing that, you'll always be successful.
You know, I believe that each job in our life will teach us something. What teach you? Commodore, what Commodore teach you?
It taught me more about the things not to do than the things to do, because they had so many changes at the top, so many people coming in senior positions. Each of them had a different idea about doing things, and they never discussed it as a group. I mean, as a management team, the president, the vice president, and all these people, I don't think they've ever even met to discuss how we market something, what we should do. And that was what was lacking. So they would have success in one region, somebody would make a decision that worked very well by complete fluke, and then the rest of the world did everything wrong. So they never discussed about it. So it's getting back to this, no man plans to fail, he merely fails to plan. And that's true.
You and Colin Proudfoot, one of the managing directors of Commodore UK, had a complete business plan for acquiring the Commodore International and rescue the Amiga. Can you tell us what was happened just before the auction in the New York?
Okay. We developed a very, very comprehensive business plan. And one of the things that we understood was absolutely fundamental and we needed, we knew that none of the suppliers of the component parts for Commodore products would give us any credit because they'd just lost a lot of money. So they were going to demand that we had money up front. And we estimated, we did a whole business plan, we estimated it would take 7 months for us to buy enough product for them to realize that we were honest and people that would pay their bills. So we, as a result of that, we estimated that we needed a total of $50 million. And we estimated it was going to be maybe $15 or $16 million to buy all the assets from the liquidator, and the rest of the money was to keep us going as a company until we became profitable. Very comprehensive plan. The business plan included all sorts of things. One of the series of things that that I was really interested in was licensing the Commodore names, right? For example, CBM, Commodore Business Machines, at one time was as powerful as IBM. Now, we did not want to sell PCs. It's a market that would be terrible. But we wanted to license the CBM name to maybe a Far Eastern company so that they could produce a range of products with CBM on them. What we would have to do would be to support it with technical support, quality control, to make sure that what they were producing was good for our name. Wouldn't cost an awful lot, but we needed to provide that. And the idea was that we would get a revenue stream, maybe 2%, of everything they sold would come to us as a royalty fee. Now that was CBM, that was for anything to do with business products. Then you take the name Commodore. Commodore could be sold and utilized for anything with a plug on it, because we had distribution in every retail store in the whole of Europe and some in America. So, for example, somebody who produces, hair dryers or shavers or toasters, they could license the name Commodore from us in the same deal to pay us 2% because it was a name that was worth having, right? And so, again, all we would have to do is to make sure that we made the quality control that they produced so they protected our name. So there's this revenue stream coming in, okay? Now, on top of that, we would then say to those people, you're making PCs, and you're selling them with the CBM name on, and we're getting 2% royalty. If you would like us and our sales team to sell those products for you on a commission basis, you're still making them, we're not making them, we're not holding inventory, we're not doing any of those things, but if you want us to sell them, because we've got the sales force already selling into those retailers, we can do that for you. And let's say we work on 3% commission or something, right? I hadn't set the figures, but something like that. And the same thing with every other, consumer product with a plug on it. We could sell on their behalf. So we give them a royalty, a product that they can sell with a good brand name, and for which they pay us 2%, and then we sell it for them as well. But we never hold inventory, so we avoid all of those risks. That's good business sense. Okay, and nobody had thought of that. We had. CD32s. What I wanted to do with CD32s was to make it available to every single manufacturer of hi-fi products. So if they were selling a stereo system, instead of just selling it with an amplifier and a CD player, have a CD32 designed to fit their stack, right? So that so that would achieve two things. One, we'd get a royalty from it. Two, it would reduce our manufacturing costs because they'd be making lots of them. And thirdly, we could sell that product on their behalf if we wanted to. Another great business idea. With Amiga, all we would have done was clothing, right? Tracksuits, T-shirts, things like that with Amiga on, and the same deal. We make sure the quality control is right, but they manufacture and they sell them where they want to, but we could also sell them for them. That's a whole revenue stream coming in that Commodore had never, ever utilized. Good idea?
Really good idea.
Right?
Yeah, I mean,
now, the idea that we had was we were going to develop the Amiga product range, and we would forget 64s or any of those things, Amiga product range, and we had a tower case designed by a company in Germany, and we were going to make a case that it didn't matter what Amiga machine you bought, whether it was a 500 or a 1200 or a 1000 or whatever, you could take your machine into one of the independent dealers, not the multiples because they couldn't do it, independent dealers. You could buy this tower case and get a new PCB, an updated one put in, and that dealer would give you a trade-in on your 500 or a trade-in on a 1200 for a 1000 or a 2000. And this was going to be called Commodore Amiga Infinity. So what we would do is we would give longevity to the Amiga range, so that the dealers could keep selling it and upgrading. Another clever idea. I didn't come up with the name Infinity, one of my guys did, Kieran Summoner did. But again, a really good idea. And then we were going to develop the new technology which our engineers were working on, which was that the new chipset called Hombre, which was staggering. It was a chip based on a mental block now. You might have to cut this bit out. It was a RISC-based chip, right? Sorry about that. A RISC-based chip to which they had put into it a 3D rendering engine. They'd put into it 5.1 surround sound stereo, because in 1993 that was now we've got 7.1, but in those days it was 5.1. But what happened is that we had pulled together, because we did a complete and thorough business plan about what we were going to do with Commodore, including all those things that I told you about selling the designs of PC products and getting commission, la-di-la-di-la. And but we also knew that what we were going to concentrate on was the Amiga range as we had it, and develop that. And we knew that we needed to borrow, and we have to pay up front. So if we were successful, people supplying us with bits that we put together would want paying up front. They wouldn't give us credit terms because it all lost a lot of money. And we estimated it would take us 7 months to get to a position where people would trust us after all of that time because we've been paying them. And that's effectively what we were going to do. But what happened is that we had, as part of our team of investors, we had about 5 different relatively small-time investors, $2-3 million each, and we between them we raised $25 million. But we had the Chinese group who themselves were going to invest $25 million. So we had $50 million, which we knew we needed for the next 6-7 months. But what happened is they were approached by the guys who eventually ended up buying the thing, and they told them to not bid with us. So they pulled out 48 hours before our bidding, and we made the decision that even though we knew we could bid and we could get it, we wouldn't have enough money, and if we didn't have enough money, we'd go bust. So we decided that we would not bid for it. So the bottom line is that we watched Eskom, bid for it and end up paying, 15 million or whatever it was, even though we knew that they had no idea what they were going to do. They had no intention to keep the Amiga range going. They were completely confused about what they were doing. But we had no choice, because I was not going to invest $25 million only to see it get lost in 2 months or 3 months, because that was what would happen. So we made the decision that we were not going to invest, and it was a very tough call. But we had no choice. That's what we had to do. And of course, the Chinese company, New Star Electronics, who were going to put the 25 million in, when they pulled out in the last 48 hours, they were told by the guys from Eskom said to them, don't worry about it, we'll look after you. And then of course they kicked them out. Yeah, absolutely. So we just made the decision 24 hours before the auction that we had to not bid for it because we couldn't support it.
What did you feel at that moment?
Well, I was incredibly distraught. Very, very, very upset. And simply because I knew that Eskom had no real plan. They have no idea about the new technology that was being developed. They had no idea, and they'd already told the 7 developers that we had for Amiga in the States. They'd already told them to pack up and go, and so all they really wanted was the PC name, CBM. That's what they wanted, but I wanted to say to them, why don't you let us have the Amiga stuff? We'll pay you for it. We'll buy it from you. Just give us everything. But they didn't want to know. And in fact, we offered to them for them to get involved with Commodore UK because we were still trading. We were the last company trading in the whole group because we'd been profitable for so many years. So as every subsidiary, within days they all closed of each other, we were still trading. And we wanted them to buy us and then trade with us in the UK because they would have made a lot of money. We had £6 million worth of credits that they could have used because of the way that we did the business before. And they offered us, but they wanted us to work for them, and we didn't like the way that they wanted. We didn't like them at all. They wanted us to do things that we believed were not good, not honest.
And after all those years from the auction in New York, do you regret that decision that you not beat the Eskom offer?
No, because we knew we could, and we knew because we had 25 million, because the Chinese had put in 25 million when they withdrew. We knew we could, and we knew we would have outbid them. But without the Chinese money, we knew that it wouldn't last, and therefore it would fail. So there's no point in spending 25 million pounds of somebody else's money when you're 99% sure it's going to fail. So we didn't regret it. It was a shame, but we didn't regret it because we were never deliberately going to lose somebody big money. if we'd had the 50 million, we could have done it. Our business plan was very solid and realistic, you know.
But now suppose that Commodore UK had those $50 million dollars and won the auction in New York.
Yep.
New Amiga had to fight with 3D games on PlayStation and with Microsoft after the release of the Windows 95. It would be a really hard time for the Amiga. Do you believe that Amiga could survive such a strong competition?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me tell you that the guy that mainly designed the PlayStation is a guy called Ian Hetherington, and he worked for a company that I was involved with quite heavily called Signosis, and we sold some of their software, and we had a very good relationship. And he asked me to bring Mediali to him, which I did. At the time, we had already seeded our Amiga CD32s into all of their software companies, signed a non-disclosure agreement, very secret. They were all developing for us. And he said to me, David, I want to talk to Mediali because I can give you better technology. And so I took Mediali, and Mediali was an a-hole. He was terrible. And he was too ignorant and just dismissed everything. And in the end, I just apologized to Ian Hetherington. I said, I'm really, really sorry. This is going nowhere. So anyway, I ended up taking Mediali away. And then the next thing you know, after time, Ian Hetherington, they sold Signosis. Ian Hetherington joined Sony, and it was his design that they used for PlayStation. But we were offered that right at the beginning.
What a shameful decision of make the alley.
But he was a person who did not understand any part of the business at all, and should never have been in that position. But the worst thing is this, right? Is that, you know, I spent a lot of time with Irving Gould, who was the main man, 22% shareholder of the whole business, right? And I would go and see him, and I would sit him down, and I would say, Irving, this is going wrong. You need to do, Medi should be doing, and he wouldn't listen. I put Medi there, and they went down the tubes, but I did warn him.
What could you say about Irving Gould? How do you describe him as a person?
Okay, I can tell you a lot about Irving Gould. He was a self-made rich man, and he told me his story, which is going to be in my book. I'm not going to. It's a very simple story, but a very interesting story. And I mean, he ended up taking on Jack Tramiel, and Jack Tramiel leaving because of it, because Jack Tramiel wanted to bring his 3 sons into the business, and Irving Gould realised that they'd got nothing to offer, and so he said no. So ended up Jack left, right? But I mean, Irving was quite a smart man, and he'd made an awful lot of money on previous investments before Commodore. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, Irving Gould was 90% responsible for Commodore's downfall, with 10% coming from Mediali because he was given so much room, and Irving did not want to hear criticism.
Sad story.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Do you remember your last day in Commodore UK? How you describe it? How you can describe it?
Yeah, I mean, it was very, very sad because, you know, we first of all we tried to get ESCOM to buy Commodore UK because we were a profitable, we were definitely the only profitable subsidiary in the whole of the world. We definitely were, and we'd got £6 million worth of credits, tax credits. So a very strong position to be in. But they would only buy us if Colin and I stayed and worked under their regime, and we didn't like their regime. We didn't want, you know, you're not buying us, you buy the business, not us. Because, and I wouldn't want to work for them, and I'm really glad I didn't, because they were just, you know, illogical, irrational, and in our opinion they weren't very honest. So what I do, I remember we sold off everything. We sold off the tables and the chairs and the desks and everything that was in Commodore UK. And those were very sad times because we had been the profitable division of the company worldwide.
The next question is somehow connected with all the things you said now. What was happened with all the intellectual property, technology and patents owned by the Commodore UK after it's declared bankruptcy?
A lot of it is now held by a guy called Mike Battilana from Cloanto. Yeah, he and I did some business. In fact, I saved his business way back, and included one of his products in my Amiga bundles. But he is quite very open verbally about trying to retain the history of Commodore. So he's bought lots and lots and lots of the patents and rights and all of this. Not all of them, because they're a bit dispersed, but he has bought a lot of them. And that's what's happened to most of them.
So some time ago you launched a project on Kickstarter called the Commodore Inside Storybook. Why you decided to write such a book?
The reason I decided to write it is because there was a lot of conjecture, a lot of people making up stories about this, that and the other and what happened. And I honestly, I mean, other people had written books as well. And in my opinion, they didn't tell the story very well. Mainly because most of the books and things that were written and movies were based around the US operation, which was a very poor performer. Europe was where the business was, and the UK. We subsequently found out when we did our research and we put our bid in and everything for the whole of the business. We got all the books with all the figures, and we realised then that we had been the profitable one. Mehdi had told us that we weren't, although we kind of knew that we were, but we then proved that we were the most profitable one. And I guess the bottom line is that you know, we believed that we were in the best place to run the whole thing. And what was the rest of the question? Sorry, just remind me.
Why? Just the reason why you decided to write this.
Oh, write the book. Sorry, yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing is, I wanted the truth to come out, because there are so many things, so many little stories that probably on their own are not very significant, but collectively they tell a whole story about what happened. And I mean, I'm one of the longest serving people there, and I can tell it like it is, and with very much risk of contradiction, because I have got nothing to gain by telling lies. I want the truth to come out, and then people will realise that the mistakes that were made, you know, particularly by Commodore, by Commodore National, by Mehdi Ali, they made terrible mistakes, and I would like to see that brought right.
Okay. You managed to convince so famous in Amiga world persons like Dave Haney and R.J. Mikao to join your project.
RJ.
Yeah, R.J.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you manage that?
Well, I have to be honest with you, I'm not sure that either of them are actually going to. They both said that they will, and I've been chasing, particularly I was chasing Dave Haney. He keeps on saying he will, but we're getting close to the running out of time. RJ promised me quite recently, and in fact I was with RJ face to face 3 weeks ago on a Monday night. On Tuesday he got notification that his mother was ill, and on Wednesday she died. We'd actually planned to meet up with him that Wednesday night, but she died. So he went in, completely disappeared, sorting out his mum's funeral and all that kind of stuff. He has assured me that he will write something, but I can't hand on heart say, because I'm not in control of them. They both said they're going to, but they both said they wanted to because I'm giving them the opportunity to tell the truth, you know, exactly, from their point of view, because they know I don't tell lies. If it's bad news, tell us it's bad news, because that's what will get printed.
So what is the current state of that book?
I am probably close to 50% finished. Maybe a little bit more, I'm not really sure. Because I've been very busy with Friend Software Corporation, which when I did the launch of the book, I wasn't that busy, but suddenly it all became very busy, and my heart is very much in making sure that I can bring as much as I can to Friend Software Corporation. I said in my Kickstarter of the launch of the book, I want it to come out in November, which is when we've got the next Amiga event in Germany, and I'm hoping I might be able to make that, but I'm not sure if I can. I have to be honest with you, because of what else is happening, it may slip.
And this project on Kickstarter is finished, or people can send money?
Oh yeah. The Kickstarter itself closed because there was a limited time, but I've actually got a website which is called. Oh,
I don't remember too.
My memory is terrible. It's called. Oh dear. Let me come back to you on that.
Yeah.
I can send it to you anyway, so you can put that in. But yeah, I've got a website in which people and they are still sending in, to buy the book, and we're doing the book and we're doing various other things as well. It'll all be on the website. But I haven't been pushing it because I've been so busy. But once we go to print, once the book is finished, we go to print. Whether I print 1,500 or 2,000 or 3,000, it's just a matter of deciding. Because once the book's finished, then of course it's easy to do. I might print like a couple of thousand and then wait and see what happens, and then print another 500 later. It's just cheaper to do it all in one go because you get a better price, But the amount of interest is still very vast, to be honest with you.
Okay. So before we go to the Friend OS, or how is it called now, Friend?
Friend Software Corporation. That is the holding company.
It seems to be a very innovative approach to the cloud computing.
Yep.
Can you say what is exactly?
Okay, what it is that we believe that the world is moving away from sitting on their own devices. For example, mobile phones are becoming more and more sophisticated, and there is now this cloud computing, which is everything is stored in the cloud, for want of a better expression. So what we have done is we've looked at the number of systems that there are, and if you go back a while, we had COBOL, and we had Linux, and a lot of people set their businesses up 20 years ago using COBOL and Linux because that's all there was. So they've got their accounts payable, their payroll, and everything else all on this. But that doesn't allow them now to communicate outside of that. If they want, they can't get on the internet, for example. So what they need is maybe Microsoft Word, or they need Apple Mac, or whatever. So if you're one of those businesses, you either throw away everything you've got and then get it all redone, which costs you a lot of money. But what Friend Software Corporation can offer you, you can keep your COBOL and your Linux, and you can then add on our product as a completely invisible layer on top of what you've already got, right? But that then allows you to run Windows, to run Mac software, and it all talks to each other, right? And then you can communicate with your people in the field, and it will work all over the world, and you are less and less dependent on your piece of hardware because it's carried in the cloud per se, right? That's called soft merging, and we have a competitor in that, and they're a company, and they're called, I keep having mental breaks, which is terrible. They're Citrix, right? Citrix, but they don't have the ability to talk to each other, right? But Citrix is around, but we are a much more refined and a lot cheaper. We also have Friend Software Corporation also has as a product which we're calling. Why have I got these mental breaks doing my head in? And I invent all these names. We've got Web Stretcher, right? So, you know, there are. It's estimated that 52% of all websites in the world were written using WordPress. I don't know why I didn't think of that, WordPress. At least 52%. But WordPress is a very pedestrian product. You can't do anything with it. You can't put high definition pictures. You can't run videos. You can't run sound. Okay. So we've developed our product, which is called Web Stretcher, and you connect to our product, and then you connect to WordPress, and you can upload all those things into your WordPress website, and it will run them all. Right? Fabulous product. We're ready to go, right? We've also got FriendChat. FriendChat is an online video chatting system where not only can you talk, you can maybe have 8 of you all online, 10 of you all online together, but you can actually input into it programs, and they can be proper business programs. They can be games, and everybody can work on them from wherever you are in the world. Work on them together, okay, which is pretty impressive in itself, right? And there's a lot more to it that I can't tell you about yet. But all I can tell you is that, in all honesty, Friend it is revolutionary, and it is what's called liquid software. And I can assure you of this if I tell you that there is a guy, he's a Finnish guy, Professor Pekka Abrahamsson. And up until recently, he was a professor in Trondheim University in Norway. And for more than 20 years, he's been studying liquid software. And what he's discovered, because Hogner went and did a talk at Trondheim, and he was blown away. And then what happened was, between you and me, I don't mind you telling him this, he invited Hogner back again. But unbeknown to Hogner, we had the guys from Huawei. He had them in the audience. Now Huawei are developing 5G. You know about 5G? To take over from 4G. And anyway, Hogner got on stage, did his presentation, and they went crazy. 2 years ago, Huawei had bought the R&D division of Nokia in Finland, and they'd set them on the mission to write liquid software. When they saw what we've developed, they've cancelled it all and said, why reinvent the wheel? Because you guys have not only written it, it's better than we could ever dream of. Okay, and if I tell you about liquid software, let me give you an example, right? You are sitting in an airport terminal, and you're working, waiting for your plane, and you're working on your laptop. They call your plane. So you close up, you save your laptop, and you pack it away, you put your luggage away, you arrive in Tokyo, and they've lost your luggage. So what the hell do you do? All you have to do is to bring out your smartphone, and you can carry on because it's all in the cloud, and you can carry on writing, and you can send it everywhere. So it goes with you without you having to do anything about it. It's liquid software, it follows and moves with you.
Yes, and you touched the interesting topic about the liquid software. Is it not dangerous for us to have everything in the cloud? It seems that we completely lose control over our data.
No, because it's protected so well. It's backed up, and it's all crypto keyed, so it's there forever. Yes, that's not the issue. We've cracked that, and a lot of people are involved in cracking that.
And many places I seen that the Friend OS is called as a system who has a strong Amiga background. And what is so Amiga-like in that?
Yeah, but well, that's very true because I mean, as you know, Hogner was a huge Amiga fan, and when he started this, he took all of the best features of the Amiga operating system and developed them, and got rid of all the other things, developed the best features, and grew them and expanded them so that they were, and added to them. So the whole heart of the thing is based on the Amiga operating system because it was good. It was very, very good. And there's nothing to touch it really since, in all honesty. There just isn't.
I have to say that 2 days ago I registered as a tester.
Good, good,
on
good.
this platform, and what I can say from the first couple seconds, 50 seconds, I just knew that this was really similar in many layers and
Well, I mean, I'm delighted that you registered because we need people like you to work on it and work on it and work on it because it's the future. It absolutely is the future. I'm convinced of it, yeah. And I'm so thrilled to be part of it. It's just amazing, you know.
I have a question about the strategy of convincing people that they should use such a new cloud system like FriendUP. What is the strategy to convince them?
Well, we think that there is a huge demand for it anyway. People, what they need to know is that they can work. Remember, Friend is designed to work on any platform, every platform. Doesn't matter what it is. So, you know, you can be working on a Windows platform, and then you can automatically transfer it to Mac, or you can transfer it to whatever you want. And the whole idea is that these products are getting more and more sophisticated every single day. They're offering you a lot more. What we believe is that we will end up with tiny little devices that all you need to do is to sort of input. And in fact, between you and me, we're talking to Dave Haney, who is a hardware designer, about designing what we want to make it very, very simple. We will never get into the hardware business ourselves, but we will license somebody to make the hardware, simple device, which is what we believe is going to happen, and then make that available to everybody around the world. And we've got people like Huawei very interested in it because it's technology that they see there is a huge future for.
So when it will be released for everyone?
Well, we've already released the early version of it. I think version 2 is going to be released next week, and then within 2 or 3 weeks another version. And we're just adding to it all the time. And as we're getting more feedback, of course, it's very exciting, very, very exciting. And I've just recruited Dan Wood and Adam Spring. You might know of Adam Spring. He's remotely interested is what he calls himself and has done for years. He now works for me, so does Dan Wood, only on a relatively part-time basis. But they're now evangelizing and spreading the word, and they're contacting people and showing how stuff works. And we're releasing a video. Every week we're going to release a new video that shows you different things it can do. So keep an eye on that. Yeah. Sure.
And now a couple of other questions aside of Friend OS. Amiga was presented as a computer for creative mind people. And indeed, in the golden years of Commodore 64 and Amiga, computers accelerate creativity of its users. Now in the age of social media and smartphones, people get used to consume information rather than creating something interesting. Is there any way to change that course and make people more creative?
That's a very good question, but it's a very difficult one to answer because it's all about people wanting to be creative. And I think that, now that we've just recently released, our Friend product, people are starting to do that. As we evangelize and more people get involved, I think that they will see that there is huge opportunities to be very creative. We're going to actually start incentivizing. We're going to be offering prizes and things like that for people who develop, stuff which can be a benefit to the world. So it's a bit hard one to answer, but we're certainly going to be encouraging it, and we're certain that people will definitely develop stuff. We are involved very heavily in the blockchain cryptocurrency industry. Do you know anything about that? Okay. Let me tell you what happened. I was talking to a guy, I won't tell you, it was Amiga related actually, complete fluke. But there's a guy who was one of the founding investors in Ethereum. You need to have a look at Ethereum, okay? And we were talking about Amiga operating system, and then he asked me what I was doing, and I said I'm involved with a friend. And cut a very long story short, there's another company that launched about 4 or 5 months ago. They're a company called Golem, and they're based here in Poland, right? Which is why I was here in Poland a few weeks ago. What they have developed is how can I explain it? They're developing a system of decentralized computing, and the best way to explain that is it is the Airbnb, Airbnb, of computing. Do you know what Airbnb is? When you've got a place you want to rent it out when you're not using it, right? So they're developing, Golem are developing what is easily explained as Airbnb. So when you're at home at night asleep, you are letting your computer be used, and they are joining them all together, and they're doing, mass processing, like things like 3D rendering and cryptocurrency and all of these things, right? Blockchains, they're doing all of that. That is what their plan is. We had a chance meeting with them, which I organised, and they just invested $750,000 in money in us. Now, a few weeks ago, they launched on the cryptocurrency business themselves, and they raised $8.6 million in 29 minutes. That cryptocurrency is now worth $40 million, right? So what's happened is that everybody's looked at what we've got, and they see that we are the catalyst. Friend Software is the catalyst that will bring all of these cryptocurrencies, blockchain, all of this stuff, will bring it all together. So we are going to be doing a crowdfunding exercise in the next few weeks, 2, 3, 4 weeks. And they believe we will be the biggest crowdfunding exercise ever.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so two last questions. Let's have a look into the future. What do you think, how will the technology change our lives in the future? Do we have to afraid something?
Do we have to?
Afraid something?
No, I think it's going to be completely new. Yeah, I don't really know what. But the fact of the matter is that you no longer have to have a big machine on your desk, because you can access things in the cloud, you can access things wherever they are. They're all secured. And the thing about say cryptocurrency, you have it, and you have a code, and you're the only person who has that code. If you lose that code, you will never get access to it again. It is absolutely secure. And of course, the difference is, and the reason, why cryptocurrency was invented? Because nobody trusts the banks. The banks are liars, they're cheats. They'll steal from their own customers. With cryptocurrency, that cannot happen. So they invented it as a secondary means of having, funds that are controllable. And that is going to take over. That's why we're delighted that they want us. They see us as being the catalyst, the product that we've got. So what we've done is we've separated our soft merging, which I explained. We've separated web stretcher. Those are commercial products that got nothing to do with cryptocurrency. So we've kept them separate, and we will develop that, and all the investors like Trevor, they'll all get a return on that if it all goes as well as we think it's going to go. And that's big business in its own right. But this cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, so those guys, they raised $8.6 million in 29 minutes, and that money is now worth $40 million. That's why they invested their $750,000 US in cash in us, because they have the money. And 4 months ago they didn't, and they haven't got anywhere. They've got this idea what they're going to do with this decentralized, but they haven't developed it yet. It's still in the process. But what we've got is already, most of what we've got is already developed. Mm-hmm. That's the difference. Because, Hogner, these guys have been working on it for 3 years.
Great stuff.
So my advice to you is keep an eye very closely on it, and if there's an opportunity to buy in. And I think you can see why. I mean, the potential is astronomical. Final question?
Maybe you would like to say something to our Amiga community, or people who will see that interview in the YouTube, something like a message from you.
Sure. But what I'd like to say is that I am personally astounded and very grateful that we have a community, a loyal community of Amiga fans and followers that I don't think that Commodore deserves, because we have not treated them properly. But we have this, this nucleus of fans that have been incredibly loyal. And all I can say is that a lot of what's happening now, which has got nothing to do with Commodore, but as some of the things I've told you, we absolutely, totally appreciate their loyalty and their support. And hopefully we'll be able to reward it with things like what it's been talking about. And I thank them from the bottom of my heart. I mean, I had 12 and a half years at Commodore, and I wouldn't change. I'd change a couple of things because I made some mistakes, but basically I wouldn't change anything because it was incredible. And I made some mistakes, but I also did a lot of good things, And I would never imagine. Here we are, 30 years on, and the community is so loyal and passionate, and I love them to bits. Is that all right?
Yeah. Thank you very much for the great interview.
No, it's my pleasure. It really, really is. The thing is, I don't have to lie. It's all here, and my memory's good and everything else. And so for me, it's like falling off a log. It's so easy to do because I mean every word of it. I'm thrilled to bits. I've had the most. I mean, I was gutted after we lost the opportunity to bid for, and I went into hiding. 2 years I didn't do anything, and then I was lucky. I went to go fishing in the Dominican Republic, and I met my second wife. And then with her, I had to wait for her to get her divorce, and we went to Australia. And we bought a restaurant and ran the business, got Australian citizenship, and everything changed. And then this complete fluke to go to the Amiga 30 event in Amsterdam, being asked to be a guest speaker. And then I met the guys, some friend, and the rest is history. So it's kind of what goes round comes round, And because I've always been 100% loyal, I feel it's kind of justified, if you know what I mean. Yeah, thrilled to bits.